It's time to talk about the cool flowers. What survived, what didn't, what was my mistakes, and what am I going to do differently this year, and what flowers turned out really well from that cool flowers experiment. Let's get into it. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Jessie and I grow flowers in Zone 8B, Ruston, Louisiana. This is my second year of flower farming, and this past fall I attempted to start growing cool flowers. Using Lisa Mason Ziegler's book, Cool Flowers, I attempted to have flowers way earlier in the season than I could if I started them in the spring. And we had some epic fails. Look at the stalk. Oh, that's so sad. And some Snapdragons. And some great successes. Y'all, we grew these. We grew these from seed. These are the ones I started in the fall. Now look at them. So let's talk about what I learned growing cool flowers here in Zone 8. One of the main mistakes I made was not planting things out on time. In Lisa Mason Ziegler's book, she explains you need to plant or transplant 6 to 8 weeks before your first frost date. I did not do that. One of the victims is my statice. It is beautiful now, but believe it or not, this is the second planting of statice. I started the seeds in September with the first planting, planted them out in January because statice is very slow, and I didn't cover it, and they all died in January except one. Yeah, here's where all the statice was, guys. This whole row was statice, and every single one of them died. Oh, it sucks. This one, this particular statice, which is nice and tall, is the only one that really survived the January hard frost that took out everything else. And it's one of my tallest plants. But that is one thing I definitely learned, is you have to plant these out in time. Transplanting them in January, they didn't have time. They had no time to really get those roots in the ground. And thus I paid the price and had to start over in January with these plants. But it all turned out okay. I still have a lot of lovely statice. Continuing with our things that didn't work, I had stock here and Spur here. The stalk I planted out on time, it looked beautiful. Now, stalk is not in Lisa Mason Ziegler's book. It's just known to be a cool flower. And I planted it out in time. It was gorgeous. You remember me talking about that January frost that took out my statice, that freeze? Took out my stalk as well because I didn't cover it. I learned the harsh lesson that if you're not sure whether you should cover or not, cover up the majority of the plants if you want, and find out. Leave one or two uncovered and see if those survive. But if you're not sure, definitely cover up the majority of your plants, or you have to start over, which is what I had to do with the stock in January. It ended up being okay, but my plants were shorter than what they would have been if I had covered them. The Spur, direct seeding Spur. It didn't look so hot, guys. I don't know what happened with the Spur, but it was definitely, it is a cool flower. You should definitely direct seed it in the fall, but I'm not sure what happened to make it so, maybe the soil was too rich right here, maybe it wasn't rich enough. I'm not sure. So let's talk about what did work. My Rudbeckia did fantastic. One of the other things that I did learn is some things are going to look like they're dead, even when they're alive. I was pretty sure the Rudbeckia had died. They looked like death. But come spring, look at them now. They look fantastic, and they are just continuing to give me blooms, and I'm loving it. Speaking of other flowers, that worked really well. My Yarrow worked so good. I did not have to cover the Yarrow or the Rudbeckia. They both did great. The Yarrow actually really filled out nicely, And then the stems are shorter now, but oh my goodness, the beginning of the spring, these were huge, nice, long, tall stems. I need to get out here and harvest. And they're actually giving me a second flush now. I did go ahead and plant some more out here in the spring, which let me show you what those look like. So these were planted in March. These were overwintered. I planted those back in September or October, and they're producing. These I planted back in March. I'm still waiting for flowers. I epically failed with Snapdragons this year. I'm not sure what was going on between me and the Snapdragons, but we were not on the same page. I either overplanted, underplanted trays, the plug trays, so they weren't even doing good before they got out here. And then once they got out here, they were just very unhappy. I had a lot of short stems, some long stems. I couldn't get the netting right. I just had a bad Snapdragon year. I'm not sure why. You know, you just have those years sometimes where this one flower that you know you can grow when it's easy just doesn't go your way. That's okay. Now, Pincushion Flowers did excellent. I did remember to cover these, and they did great. The only issue I ran into Pincushion Flowers was the deer. The deer absolutely loved them and ripped some of them out of the ground. They're starting to fade out now as we're going into summer, but I will definitely be doing Pincushion Flowers again next year. Forget-me-nots, Mystery Rose, and Forget-me-not, the regular blue ones. Well, this is them. They're this short because I let the first tray that I attempted to overwinter die. I accidentally left the tray out when I was hardening it off. I left it outside. We had a cold snap during the night and it killed the entire tray of Chinese forget-me-nots. I was so mad. So I had to start them over. And I didn't start them over right away like I did everything else. These did not get transplanted until about April. And as you can see, they're way shorter. They're not doing that great. I have found that if I keep pinching them, they will eventually get bigger and usable. However, if I would have done like Mason Ziegler's book said, started earlier, got them into the ground about 6 weeks before my first frost date, these would be epic right now. Speaking of things that should be epic and are not, let's take a look at the Foxglove. Look at the Foxglove, guys. Oh my goodness. These were not attempted to be cool flowers. I just planted these in the spring and they are doing so bad this year. Last year they grew great, and this year they are struggling. I'm doing my best to keep them alive. I don't think they're gonna make it. Definitely something to start as a cool flower. Now, this was my second attempt to ever grow dill. I've always failed in the past, but Lisa Mason Ziegler said, direct sow the dill. I tried to transplant it. That did not go well. Direct seeding is the way to go. It's starting to fade now, but dill is amazing. It did so good. And I'm a huge dill fan now that I've been able to grow it. Another one that I grew direct seeded was Nigelia. Nigelia ended up doing really well. Once again, didn't have enough of it. And my only issue with direct seeding is I don't know what's actually going to come up and what's not going to come up. That's my only issue, but Nigelia did really well as well. Some other plants that did really well were my Bachelor Buttons, which I knew from past experience that they did well planted in the fall, and you don't have to cover them. They come up beautifully on their own and did great. They're gone now. It's too hot. But there is one other plant that I tried my best to grow as a cool flower and epically failed at, and that would be sweet peas. This is where I planted my sweet peas. They started to grow. I was excited. I had maybe 1 or 2 usable stems and then it just died. It got too hot. So I'm probably going to give up on sweet peas. I have learned a few things about cool flowers and I feel way more confident going into year 2 of my cool flowers journey. It's June 28th. I've already placed my order with GeoSeed for my fall seed order. So this upcoming year, I am doing it the right way. We are not going to let stuff that's going on the farm affect us as much this year when it comes to these cool season flowers. I know if I can follow the book and do what Lisa Mason Ziegler says, I can grow these flowers and they are going to be fantastic. So what cool flowers am I doing next year? It'd actually be easier for me to tell you what I am not doing next year as far as cool flowers. I am definitely not doing sweet peas. I've given up. I am not doing her version of the Snapdragons. I will not be growing those as a cool flower. Everything else is fair game. You can purchase the book Cool Flowers via my affiliate link down the bottom, or you can go to the Gardener's Workshop if you would like to purchase it from Lisa herself. If you are starting this Cool Flowers journey, I have a video on how to start statice from seed to 1 month seedlings. Be sure to check that out beside me. I'll also place the playlist on going from seed to 1 month on pretty much all the plants I've ever started, which you can find the playlist here, and I will see y'all there. Bye.